Hello guys, welcome to my new video, and today we're going to be doing a healer commentary, specifically Holy Paladin when approaching Orgozoa Mythic fight. And hopefully this is going to be my overview of what I did when I used my healing cooldowns. Of course, this is going to be dependent on your group raid composition, especially on Orgozoa, which I feel is probably one of the most fun healer fights in the game right now because of the amount of healing that is needed. So first of all, this is the way that I use cooldowns. I'm sure there's a lot of ways to optimize stuff better than I do. This wasn't the best try. I don't want to pick the try that, you know, I did the most healing or I did the best cooldowns, because I feel everyone can learn from their mistakes and everyone can analyze their gameplay and see how they can improve. So let's look at some of the healing cooldowns and some of the gameplay associated with Holy Paladin, especially the way I played it. So you can see right now I'm popping my Holy Avenger and Wings. So this actually happened 27 seconds into the fight. So why did I hold on to my Holy Avenger and Wings for this boss fight? Because we also have another Holy Paladin. That Holy Paladin is using their cooldowns on the pull. And for majority of Holy Paladins, believe it or not, for majority of Eternal Palace raid bosses, Paladins just use their cooldowns on the cooldown, because it just ends up doing, you have the highest uptime of Wings, and you can either, or Wings and Holy Avenger, and you can either use them to DPS the bosses or you can use them to heal the bosses, and a lot of the times they just use them on cooldown. So in this fight I wanted to stagger cooldowns. I didn't want to use my cooldowns at the same time as the other Holy Paladin. This is why I used it 27 seconds into the fight. So it might be different for you if you're the only Holy Paladin into this fight, or in Orgozoa, or in your raid composition. So right now I'm basically using my Wings and Holy Avenger to do damage and to heal up the people who fail and kind of stand in bad stuff and get a bit of, you know, damage done. You can see here on my grid too that I have a tracker. This person has a dot on them, and there's also going to be another person, this rogue, has a dot on them. So again, I try to maintain my Holy Shocks or Glimmer of Light on them at all times. I'm also kind of putting out Glimmers at this point. You don't have to do that. The reason I'm doing this is because I'm kind of expecting more damage to happen in the future. You don't have to do this. If I was progressing this fight, this is a farm rekill. If I was progressing this fight, I would be pumping as much DPS as possible at this given moment. As you can see, I'm failing at this given moment. I don't have Glimmer of Light on the boss, which is really bad in a lot of situations. You should maintain Glimmer of Light on the boss. I actually end up getting a weak aura. You can't see it here, but I have a weak aura that now tells me that Glimmer is missing on the boss. And this was one of the things that I was really bad at, and I think improved a lot in the future. So right now you have these dots. I'm assuming you know the fight already. You have the dots that are going to be doing a lot of damage, and at some points throughout the fight you will have to spread out. And the important part of that is that the more, or the longer the fight continues, the more people will have the dots, and you have to, and everyone will have to spread out at certain points. So you need to know or have a designated area where you're gonna go. My designated area is right here. As a Holy Paladin, I demanded my raid leader to give me a spot that I can also hit the boss, because you'll notice that when you have to spread out, when there's going to be damage happening from these dots, the healing requirement is insane. And as a Holy Paladin, you need to use your Crusader Strikes. With Crusader Might talent, Crusader Strike is gonna reset or at least reduce the cooldown of your Light of Dawn and Holy Shock. You need to be able to hit the boss during those moments in order to heal, and I'll talk about that a bit later on. Right now I don't have the dot. A lot of the melee have the dot, so I'm playing normally. I'm doing what I have to do. I'm using my DPS cooldowns as well. I'm using my Consecration. I'm using my Judgment as well, even though they don't really do anything in terms of my healing, because I don't have, like you saw for example here, if I go back, I actually use my Flash of Light here. I use my Flash of Light here, and you can see why I use my Flash of Light. I don't have Holy Shock, I don't have Light of Dawn, I don't have Crusader Strike. I don't have any of these things available at this given moment. And this is when you really want to try, this is the only time that you really want to use Flash of Light. Because Flash of Light with Glimmer of Light build is, you're not going to be hard casting that much. Majority of your healing is going to be coming from Holy Shocks. Holy Shocks are going to leave Glimmer of Light on targets. You can see the little icons here. This is Glimmer of Light on the very right corner of my grid. So you'll be using Holy Shock, you'll be applying Glimmer of Light, you'll be using Light of Dawn if there's enough people, and you'll be using Crusader Strike to reset or lower the cooldowns of your Holy Shock and Light of Dawn. That's your bread and butter. And this situation happens once in a while where your Light of Dawn is on cooldown, your Holy Shock is on cooldown, your Crusader Strike is on cooldown, and the only thing that you have to do, or there is still damage outcoming, and the only thing that you can heal with is Flash of Light. And that is the only time you probably be using this. So that's why I'm using this at the moment, because I don't have my cooldowns. As you can see, my Holy Avenger is 41 seconds. My Avenging Wrath is 50 seconds. So basically, I'm just doing this light healing with, you know, Light of Dawns, Holy Shocks, getting my Crusader Strikes and things like that. You can see that it's really important to notice the charges that I have on my Crusader Strike as well. You can get 2 charges. And before I'm going to be using cooldowns, I'm going to make sure that I have at least a couple of charges on my Crusader Strike to start pumping when I have my Wings and Holy Avenger. And I do use my Wings and Holy Avenger together at this boss. There is a big, there's going to be, and I'll be talking about this, about how bad my Wing cooldown ended up being at the end of phase 1. I'll talk about this, but you see right now I have my Vision of Perfection proc here. Vision of Perfection proc. Now I'm using Vision of Perfection Major and I'm using Well of Existence Minor. I only have 2 essences at this given time. This was like a month ago or something like that. This is a really long time ago. Fun thing about Vision of Perfection, if you're about to use your Holy Avenger, you use your Holy Avenger and you want to pop your Wings, but your Vision of Perfection procs, you can't pop your Wings. Your Vision of Perfection will prevent you from using your ability. So if the RNG is not... depends on how you look at it. If you get like 2 Vision of Perfection procs, one after another, this will desync your cooldowns from Holy Avenger. So all of a sudden, your Holy Avenger and Wings will not be... you won't be able to pair them up at the same times. This can happen very rarely, and you kind of have to adapt to the situation. It doesn't happen to me because you can see my Holy Avenger is 10 seconds and my Wings procced here. So I'm trying to get, unfortunately, I'm trying to get as many Crusader Strike resets as possible, but my Crusader Strike is on cooldown. I have 3 seconds left. I'm gonna try use Holy Shock into Crusader Strike if I can. So I used Holy Shock and I'm gonna try, you can see I still have 1 charge of Crusader Strike and my Wings is still up. I'm gonna try and get Crusader Strike and I kinda got it. It was very close, but either way, it's very RNG with Vision of Perfection and how you optimize this. Overall with this fight, I'm basically waiting for my cooldowns and my Holy Avenger is back and my Wings is going to be back very soon. I'm going to be using this pretty much right now. You can see that I also got dot on me, which means that for the next parts when people need to spread, I'm going to need to spread as well. And again, this is the part where I mentioned I want to be hitting the boss at the same moment. You can see how many people have the dots on them. There is a lot of damage outcoming right now. We're 2 minutes into the fight. I still have my Devo Aura. So right now, you can see I use my Holy Avenger and Wings, and I'm trying to do this playstyle of Holy Shock, Crusader Strike, Holy Shock, Crusader Strike, Holy Shock, Crusader Strike. My priority of Light of Dawn kind of falls down during this Wing uptime. During my normal playstyle at the start of the fight, I was kind of doing, like, you know, I was using Holy Shock, I was using Light of Dawn, I was using Crusader Strike. I was trying to maintain or use Crusader Strike when my Light of Dawn and Holy Shock were on cooldown. Because again, Crusader Strike with Crusader Smite is going to reduce the cooldown of your Light of Dawn and Holy Shock, and you want them to be on cooldown. During my Wings and Holy Avenger cooldown rotation, I'm not prioritizing Light of Dawn as much. I'm trying to get as many Holy Shock, Crusader Strike, Holy Shock, Crusader Strike, Holy Shock, Crusader Strike kind of deal. And then if my Holy Shock is not available, if my Crusader Strike is not available, I will use Light of Dawn then. I feel Light of Dawn falls down in terms of priority during this cooldown rotation, but right now I'm trying to spread. You see, I'm trying to get as many resets as possible. There are melee around me who have the dot. They're trying to spread. This little weak aura tells me that I'm safe. Again, I'm using Holy Shock. I'm getting Divine Purpose proc, so I can use Holy Shock more often. I'm using Crusader Strike into Holy Shock again, then Crusader Strike into Holy Shock, and and you see right now, this is the exact thing that I was talking about. I have Holy Shock on cooldown, and I have Crusader Strike on cooldown. And I have my Wings and my Holy Avenger right now. So I use Light of Dawn at this given moment. This is when I use my Light of Dawn, when nothing else is possible during my cooldowns. Outside of my cooldowns, I have a different priority where I'm going Holy Shock, Light of Dawn, Crusader Strike kind of deal. So it's interesting to notice with that as well. Again, I'm using my Rule of Law here. Rule of Law at phase 1, I mean, not a lot of people are spread out. Generally speaking, in a lot of the fights that I do, I will use Rule of Law, and I love Rule of Law. I basically use Rule of Law, which is gonna kind of make my mastery more potent with my cooldowns. So let's say this was an Orgozoa, this was some other fight where everyone's spread out. I pop my cooldowns, I use my Rule of Law, and all of a sudden a person who's really, really far away, let's say he's somewhere there, my healing is gonna be increased on them because I have cooldowns and Rule of Law available. But Orgozoa, it's not really that important, but I'm still doing it because it's kind of like a muscle memory for me. So right now I have a lot of wing uptime, I'm doing a lot of healing, I'm trying to maintain glimmers on as many people as possible. My Holy Avenger kind of ran out, so I'm still trying to get Crusader Strike, Holy Shock, I'm getting Divine Purpose procs, again the cooldown is here, I'm using Light of Dawn. I'm still trying to maintain at certain points, after the cooldowns are gonna exit, I'm gonna maintain still like Consecration and trying to use Judgments. You can't really see it here right now because there's a lot of damage, but I still try to maintain my DPS rotation, even though it doesn't give me anything in terms of healing. If I had Grace of Justicar Azerite trait, Judgment would actually be part of my healing rotation, but I don't have it. So right now we're approaching at 3 minutes, and this is where it really goes down. There is a whole lot of damage happening here. I feel a lot of people have the dots on them, there's a lot of healing needed. Again, this is the type of fight where if you die in phase 1, if you die and you haven't used the personal cooldown, you haven't used your health pot, if you haven't used your health stone, then it's on you. This is the most healing intensive fight or part of the fight in the whole Eternal Palace, arguably for the last couple expansions. There is an insane amount of healing needed. And during phase 1, if you die and you haven't used your health stone, then it's on you. You should have done that. So this is the part where it's very good to use the health stones, using your health pots as well. It's kind of hard depending on how you're gonna assign your cooldowns. You notice that the ads are dying here in the bottom here. What happens when the ads dies? They leave a puddle on the ground that needs to be soaked, and the tanks will have to do it, and it also deals damage. So right now, there could have been a bad kind of overlap of abilities here. It didn't happen right now, but you see the ads died, and you see the puddles. The tank is trying to soak it and it's trying to avoid the big puddles as well. There's going to be damage happening here. It could have been that, you'll see right now, after the puddle jumping or avoidance has ended, you see there's a lot of damage. I'm using my Devo Aura here. What could have happened is that after this little bubble phase was over, you would get the spreading out phase right now. And this happened to us during progression sometimes when we kill the ads and we have to spread out. And there is a ton of damage happening right now because when the ads dies, they leave a pool. The pool needs to be soaked. There's damage split across the raid. And then you have to spread out. And when you spread out, there's also damage happening here. And this is like a prime place to use your Devo Aura because everyone's spread out. You can't really use your barrier. We're running with 2 Discipline Priests. We're running with a Mistweaver. I feel this is where I would use Devo Aura most of the time, but we didn't get this overlap. So I used Devo Aura before, and right now you see I'm trying to get my resets. I was using Flash of Light there, but even though I was using Flash Light, I still had a Crusader Strike charge. It wasn't really optimal. I'm getting my Vision of Perfection proc, and I'm probably going to time it with, actually I'm gonna wait it out. I have 5 seconds for wings. Holy Avenger is back up. I'm popping my Holy Avenger a little bit earlier, and this is the part where my cooldown priority wasn't really that great. So the boss is going to transfer at 40%, and I have my Holy Avenger, and my wings are popping off cooldown right now. Now, I have Holy Avenger and wings, and I have 1 charge of Crusader Strike, which I'm gonna use straight away, and I'm gonna try and get into Holy Shock. Again, I'm doing the whole thing of Crusader Strike, Holy Shock. And I'm going to miss out on about 10 seconds of cooldowns here because we end up killing this boss a lot faster. You see this part here, I'm trying to avoid the people as much as possible. I'm trying to get my resets. Again, I used my Light of Dawn when there was nothing else left. I'm like the bread and butter. Crusader Strike, Holy Shock, Crusader Strike, Holy Shock. So you can see right now, this is why I use this video, because this video is not the best representation of how to use cooldowns. I missed out on 10 seconds of wings. So this is pretty poor on my part in terms of cooldown assignment. But at the same time, the pull before this, we end up pushing a lot later, and my wings ran out at like, I had the full uptime of wings during this phase. So it really depends on how good your raid DPS is as well. Like I mentioned, for a lot of tries, I didn't have this overlap. Our DPS for this try was a lot better. It was a lot better. So I missed out on 8 seconds. Again, this is the running down phase. Interesting enough, if you are really far behind, you can actually jump from here to the bottom phase. Like, you can run up and jump there. I don't recommend this for you to do it unless you're really far behind. I think the boss has been nerfed now. I'm not sure. Maybe this is not even needed anymore. But at the start of our progression, you could just run and jump. And again, if you're really far behind. Again, I like to kind of zoom in on this phase. I still have wings, 2 seconds of it. I'm trying to use some holy shocks just to get holy shocks on it, but again, it's relatively useless. I used my horse before, and it's very good to have a warlock here because we're probably going to place a warlock gate at the very end here for the people who are relatively slow. Again, Paladin doesn't have a huge amount of mobility. Again, the portal was placed a little bit behind me, so I didn't need to use it. I'm gonna make it in time. So because I missed out on like 10 seconds at the start, my Holy Avenger or my Wings has a 40-second cooldown, and my Holy Avenger is 24-second cooldown. So right now I'm doing, of course, we have 3 tanks right now, and they're kind of swapping in terms of who's going to tank the ads, who's going to tank the boss. But at this phase, I'm just going to use cooldowns on cooldown. And it usually works out pretty well. I'm going to be able to get a Holy Avenger Wings when they come up. And then it doesn't really matter what I do with the first wing procs or the first wing cooldown here, because there's not a lot of damage happening. You'll see right now my wings are going to come back pretty soon, and I'll start popping, I'll start getting glimmers out, I'll start doing some boss damage as well. But this doesn't really matter because there is really not a lot of damage happening. Again, I got the dot, I was one of the first people to get it, so I need to spread out for all the time. So I'm just healing up, I'm getting holy shocks, I'm getting glimmers out there, I'm doing the same thing over and over again. But the most important part is that I'm going to be able to use cooldowns for the end phase. And the end phase is where there's a lot of damage. Again, Orgozoa is a type of fight where, hey, dots are coming out at the start, but the longer the fight progresses, the more dots are out, the more raid AoE damage is happening. So I'm using my personal here for no real reason, I guess. Again, I need to be spread out. I'm one of the 2 people who have it right now. Actually, 3 people have it. I'm getting tons of abilities on me right now. So I have to avoid this. I have to put it on the edges. Again, I'm going to need to soak one of the ad mechanics here. And if I can soak this with bubble, it prevents tons of raid AoE damage. We used 2 paladins to soak this. I'm not sure. I think rogues can soak this as well, and hunters. I'm not 100% sure. It's been a while since I've done this. I don't think BOP works for this. I think initially they said that BOP would work, but we tested it out and it didn't. I'd love to hear your actual opinions about this. But we used 2 paladins to do it. So I actually got multiple abilities on me. I have to soak this, and I also got the other ability that need to spread. So I'm basically for the last 15 seconds I couldn't do anything. I had to do all of these like mechanics that I was kind of looking on. Again, I'm using rule of law because people are kind of spread out. I need to spread again. There is a ton of damage happening. There's going to be a barrier cast pretty soon. The boss is on like 16% HP, which is not bad. I'm getting my Vision of Perfection procs. I'm trying to get as many Crusader Strike resets into holy shocks. Again, there's a barrier here. I'm trying to stay underneath the barrier. My Holy Avenger is 7 seconds. My Wings is 15 seconds. And I'm basically waiting for that moment. I also have my Devo Aura, which I'm going to be using at the very end stage. Again, the damage here is really ramping up. I still have to avoid the stuff. I'm trying to hit it, but at this moment, even if it don't hit the boss, I'd rather not give out additional dots because I can't hit the boss, because I'm trying to play extra safe here. Someone else has to soak this right now. They do it. Again, if you don't soak this, it's basically a wipe. So you need to make sure that people who have immunities and are ready to soak, they should absolutely know when they're soaking. So right now, I'm getting my Holy Avenger Wings proc. So now I'm going Crusader Strike, Holy Shock into all the people who have the dots. I'm trying to maintain or put glimmers on the people who have dots, at the same time trying to heal the tanks. And this is the last part of the boss, like you have like 5%. I still have my aura, and I'm going to be using aura when we have to spread, because this is like a guaranteed raid damage. When you have to spread for the dot, arcing currents, this is guaranteed damage. So I just use my Devo aura here just to prevent any unnecessary deaths. A person needs to soak here. If they don't soak, it's gonna be a wipe. And this was an relatively easy kill. Again, if you're dipping really low, use a personal, and I should have used a personal here. This was a big issue. I could have died. I got really low there. I'm not sure what ended up getting everybody up from really low. This might have been a staff proc to some extent. Like you saw, I got really low here. I didn't use my defensive, I didn't use my pot, and I didn't use my health stone. I should have. This would have been unnecessary death, and it would have been on my, it would have been completely my bad. But again, I think there was a huge burst healing. Again, I can't remember whether it was a Shard Staff or not, and this was a kill. And it could have been a death. It could have been a wipe at the very end if we didn't actually proc that. So this was my overview of Holy Paladins going into Orgozoa fight. Again, not a lot of things. A lot of things here could have been optimized in other ways. I could have used my cooldowns a little bit differently. I could have popped my Holy Avenger maybe 10 seconds earlier, or my wings 10 seconds earlier. I could have used more defensive cooldowns. My positioning could have been a little bit better. But overall, this is how we got our Orgozoa farm kill. This is not progression. There's a lot of issues I could have focused on in terms of boss DPS. I got a weak ward that helps me tracking Glimmer on a boss. Like, my boss DPS was very low on this fight. I really didn't put out glimmers on ads. I didn't put out glimmers on... I didn't try to optimize my Glimmer playstyle, but if you enjoy this type of video, I might upload a cool fight where, again, I really kind of try to perfect my DPS, try to put out glimmers more on ads and things like that, and there's a big difference. So that's why I feel these kind of videos, I don't want to look at the perfect try. I want to look at a try where I can improve in different aspects, improve on cooldown usage, improve on, you know, Holy Paladin gameplay and things like that. Let me know how you feel about this. If you want to see more videos like this, leave a comment below on which type of video you want to see. Thank you guys for watching this video, and I'll see you in my next guide.